أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In Surah Ibrahim, we have been learning about the importance of taking people out of dhulumat into an-nur, into the light. And this begins at a very young age. And this is why, alhamdulillah, our emphasis at Al-Huda is not just on teaching older people, but also starting at the very basic level. So when you tell other people about this program, make sure you have this vision in mind. That this is so that people are taken out of dhulumat into the nur. And this is something that we have to do for all ages, for all people. And so this should be your motivation, and make sure you tell people with this intention, inshallah. Okay, let's begin the lesson. Lesson number 130, Surah Ibrahim, ayah number 18 to 34. مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, the example of those people who have disbelieved. Who have disbelieved in who? بِرَبِّهِمْ, in their Lord. The example of what? The example of أَعْمَالُهُمْ, of their deeds. So the example of those people who have disbelieved in their Lord, their deeds are like what? كَرَمَادٍ, they are like ashes. What kind of ashes? اشتدت به الريح في يوم عاصف, which the wind blows forcefully on a stormy day. And once the wind has blown all of those ashes, لا يقدرون مما كسبوا على شيء, they are unable to keep from what they earned a single thing even. They cannot retain anything at all. ذلك هو الضلال البعيد, and that is what is extreme error. That is extreme error from which there is no way out. What is mentioned over here is the consequence of the deeds of those people who have done kufr, who have disbelieved in their Lord. الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. Remember that there are different levels and different types of kufr. And this kufr especially is the major kufr, kufr akbar, which is denying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, denying His existence, denying that He is the creator, that He is the master, that He is the sustainer. So such people who completely deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَعْمَالُهُمْ, their deeds. Which deeds? Whatever good deeds that they have performed. Whatever good deeds that they have performed, whether they are actions or they are statements, words. And however good and well-meaning those actions or words may be. Like, for example, joining relations, giving charity to the poor, teaching people, doing social work, all of this is what? Good deeds. Saying a good word, being very polite, being very sweet, being very nice in one's words. So, أَعْمَالُهُمْ, their deeds, the good deeds that they have performed in action or in statements. There are many people who do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who completely deny His existence. But at the same time, they do a lot of charitable work. They do a lot of social work. They help the poor, they help the needy. They will sacrifice their lives and they will go to such places where the people need basic education. They will live amongst them. They will spend their time amongst them, feeding them, cleaning them, teaching them. All of this is what? Good deeds. However, these good deeds, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about them? That they are like karamadin. On the day of judgment, they will be like ashes. Ka, like, and ramad is from the root letters ra, mim, dal. And ramad are ashes, the remains of something after it has been fully consumed and burnt by fire. And if you think about it, if you ever seen ashes closely, if you ever touch ashes, for example, if there's something that has been burnt to ashes and you try to press it with your hand, sometimes the particles are even more fine than dust. They're more fine. And they carry absolutely no weight. There's no moisture. There's no weight to it. So, their actions are like ashes. How are they like ashes? In their benefit, in their outcome, in their net result. Their deeds are like ashes, having no weight, bringing no benefit, and such ashes that have been ishtaddat bihi rihu, which the wind has picked up. Ishtaddat is from the root letters Sheen, Dal, Dal. From the word Shadid. And what does Shadid mean? To be strong. Shiddah, to be strong. And Ishtidad is to become severe. It is to become violent. To become intense. So Ishtaddat bihi, he refers to Ramad, the ashes. What has Ishtaddat? What's the fa'il of Ishtaddat? Ar-rihu, the wind. Because ar-rihu, this is marfu' over here. So the wind fiercely picked up. The wind fiercely blew away. Ishtaddat bihi ar-rihu, what the wind fiercely picked up and blew away. Just imagine, ashes, there is a violent wind, and what does it do? It picks up those ashes and it blows them far and abroad. And this wind, when does it pick those ashes up and blow them away? Fi in yawmin, a day that is asif, that is stormy. Asif is from the root letters Ain Sadfa. And asif is basically, when it's used for wind, it is used for a very stormy and fierce wind. A very stormy and fierce wind. And basically, asif is something that breaks something down, that completely disintegrates whatever it hits, whatever it comes across. So, over here, asif, yes, it is a sifa of yawm, but actually it's describing the type of wind that blows on that day. So, the wind, what kind of a wind is it? It's extremely fierce, extremely violent, that everything that it hits, everything that it picks up, it breaks it into pieces. It completely disintegrates it. Like for example, in the fall, when all of the leaves have fallen down from the trees, what happens? As the winds blow, you see the leaves blowing around, and they're being picked up and they're being thrown back, and as they are picked up and thrown, what happens? They break into more and more pieces. This is what asif is. One that breaks down. So the wind picks it up on a very stormy day, and when these ashes have been blown away, what's the result? لَا يَقْدِرُونَ, they are not capable, they have no ability, that مِمَّا كَسَبُوا, from what they have earned. They have absolutely no authority over what they have acquired. What they have acquired refers to what? The good deeds that they have done in the dunya. عَلَى شَيْءٍ, upon anything at all. Meaning nothing of their good deeds remains with them. Just imagine a pile of ashes has been blown away. What's going to last? What's going to last? Nothing is going to last. So similarly, all of their deeds have been blown away by the wind, by a fierce wind. So obviously, nothing of their deeds are going to remain with them. And ذَلِكَ, that is هُوَ الضَّلَالُ الْبَعِيدُ. That is the extreme error. What is the extreme error? ذَلِكَ over here refers to the wastage of their deeds. How their deeds have been wasted. How their deeds have brought them no benefit, no reward, nothing whatsoever. That is an error, that is dalal, that is ba'id. Because just imagine the ashes that have been blown away, can they ever be retrieved? Can they ever be collected? Can they ever be put back together? Can you ever turn them back into what they were before the actual thing was burnt? You cannot do that. You cannot reverse the process. So the wastage of their deeds is a dalal, is a getting lost. We'll take the word dalal in its literal meaning in this context. So dalal, meaning they have been lost, and it is ba'id, it is so far that it's impossible to retrieve their deeds, their actions. Secondly, dhalika refers to performing deeds on the basis of kufr. Doing righteous deeds on the foundation of what? Kufr. This is dalalul ba'id, an extreme error. Because when a person does not take the correct route to a particular destination, is he ever going to get there? No. Similarly, the route that these people have taken to get reward in the akhirah is what? Of kufr. And this is not going to lead them to the right destination. It's not going to bring them any reward in the hereafter. ذَلِكَ هُوَ الضَّلَالُ الْبَعِيدُ. And they're thinking that their actions are good and they're going to be beneficial. This is an extreme error. Because they're not going to be benefited at all. Now just imagine a pile of ashes that have been blown away by a fierce wind. Just imagine. What's going to happen to the ashes? They're going to be scattered everywhere. And especially if it's a very violent wind, they're going to be scattered wide and abroad everywhere, and it's impossible to keep track of all of those ashes. Impossible. And it's impossible to retrieve them. Because the wind has not only just spread the ashes, but it has also further disintegrated them. Because it's asif, it has further disintegrated them. And even if the ashes are collected, they will carry no weight whatsoever. They are worthless. Do you ever save ashes? No, you throw them away immediately. And this is the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given for the deeds of who? Of those people who do kufr with their Lord, who disbelieve in their Lord. That whatever efforts they have put in this dunya, their charitable deeds, they will not find any reward for it in the hereafter. Their deeds will disappear just as ashes are blown away by a very fierce wind. And this also demonstrates to us about the severity of the Day of Judgment. Because the Day of Judgment has been parallel to what? A stormy day. A stormy day with a very violent wind, with a very severe wind. This is like the Day of Judgment. What happens on a stormy day? When there's a tornado, when there's a cyclone, when there's a hurricane, everything is falling apart. Everything is being broken down. Sometimes the heaviest objects even, they are picked up and they're blown away, or at least things break down. Unless if they are extremely strong, unless if their foundation is very firm, if their foundation is correct. This is the reality of the Day of Judgment. That if a person has performed any action on kufr, on riya, on shak, it will be blown away. But if a person has done something on the basis of iman and yaqeen, sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those deeds will remain, and those deeds will bring benefit to a person. We learn in Surah Al-Kahf, ayah 105, that أُولَئِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ وَلِقَائِهِ فَحَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فَلَا نُقِيمُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَزْنًا. That those are the ones who have disbelieved in the verses of their Lord and in their meeting Him. So their deeds have become worthless, and we will not assign to them on the day of resurrection any importance, any weight, any wazn. Because the deeds will also be weighed on the Day of Judgment. Remember? وَالْوَزْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْحَقِّ. But when the ashes are weighed, imagine what kind of weight will they have? Nothing. Especially when they have been blown away. Imagine if you're taking a stack of loose sheets with you, and there's a violent wind. Imagine all of your homework is there, all of your assignments, all of your tests are in that stack, and it's blown away by the wind. You put it on the car, forgetting that a very violent wind is blowing, and all of them are blown away. What can you do to get them back? Especially if the wind is constant, continuous, and it's spreading those sheets everywhere. There's no way of getting them back. This is how their deeds will carry no weight on the Day of Judgment. And especially at the time when they need them most. At the time when they need the reward of those deeds, they will be blown away. Why? Because they had not done them for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, a person who does something just to please people, to show off, then they will also have a similar result. They will have no weight for their deeds. We learn in Surah Ibrahim, ayah 117, that مَثَلُ مَا يُنْفِقُونَ فِي هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا كَمَثَلِ رِيحٍ. The example of what they have spent in the worldly life is like that of a wind. What kind of a wind? فِيهَا صِرٌ, containing frost. أَصَابَتْ حَرْثَ قَوْمٍ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ, which strikes the harvest of a people who have wronged themselves. So obviously that wind, what is that going to do? Containing frost. If it reaches, if it hits a field, obviously فَأَهْلَكَتْهُ, it's going to destroy it. What does Allah say? وَمَا ظَلَمَهُمُ اللَّهُ وَلَكِنْ أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. Allah has not wronged them, but they have been wronging themselves. Because a person may object, that why is this so? They have been so good. They have done so many righteous deeds. They have been so polite, so kind, so generous, so charitable. How is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make their deeds worthless? Why? Because first of all, they never did them for Allah. And secondly, they did whatever they did on the basis of kufr, not on iman. And when a person does kufr, then his actions are worthless. So what does this show to us? That there are two main foundations of good deeds. And these two foundations, they must be there in order for the good deeds to be accepted. In order for the good deeds to be accepted. And what are they? First of all, Iman. Iman and Ikhlas, both. And secondly, that the deeds must also be performed in the correct manner. They must be performed according to the instructions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for us, according to the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if a person does not believe in Allah, he does not believe in the hereafter, and he does righteous deeds, are they going to be accepted? No. Similarly, if a person does something, he believes in Allah, but he does something to show off, to please people, just to get their praise. Is he going to get reward for that? No. Because he did it to get praise, and he was praised. That was his goal. He got the reward in the dunya. Like the hadith of the shaheed, and the alim, as well as the person who used to spend. These three people will be brought on the day of judgment, and they will be asked, what did you do? And they will say, that we used to fight in your way, and I even gave my life. Another will say, that I used to recite the Quran. And the third will say, that I used to spend. But what will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to them? Kadabta. You have lied. You did it so that you are praised. So you were praised. You got your reward in the dunya. Now you have nothing. So if a person does something, if a person believes in Allah, yet he does something to show off, again, there is no reward for that deed. Ikhlas is extremely important. Similarly, if a person has iman, but he does not perform a particular action according to the instructions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, will that deed be beneficial for him? Will it bring him any reward? No. Because there are many people who have invented things in their religion, thinking that they will be rewarded for them. Innovations do not bring any reward. They will be blown away by the wind, just as ashes are blown away, carrying no benefit, because two conditions must be met. Iman, Ikhlas, and secondly, according to the instructions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. And if these two conditions are not met, then the deeds will be completely wasted away. In Surah Al-Furqan, ayah number 23, we learn, وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْصُورًا. And we will regard what they have done of deeds. We will check them. And what's going to happen? And we will make them as dust that is dispersed. Dispersed. Haba'an, dust that is mansura, that is dispersed everywhere. You cannot collect those particles. You cannot put them together in one place. You cannot assign any weight to them. This is the reality of such deeds. So what is the lesson in this for us? What is the lesson in this for us? Check our intention, that the time and effort that we're putting in to do something good, make sure that we preserve those deeds for ourselves. How? By ensuring that they are done exclusively for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they are done in the right way as well. Because this life is very precious. Every day, we spend so much time, so much energy, waking up in the morning, reciting the Quran, doing different things. But if a person's niyyah is not correct, they're a waste. A total waste. And inna ad-deena inda Allahil Islam. And وَمَن يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ. So whether a person is an atheist or a person is of the people of the book or whoever, what we learn from the Quran is that a person who does kufr of Allah, and remember, denying the messenger is also like denying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Differentiating between Allah and His messengers. That a person says, I believe in some messengers and I disbelieve in others. This is also kufr. And when a person does that, his deeds are not going to carry any weight. Which is why we learn the Quran about عَامِلَةٌ نَاصِبَةٌ that some faces on the Day of Judgment will be tired and fatigued, extremely exhausted. Why? Because they spent their lives working, serving, doing one thing after the other. But because they didn't do it on the basis of Iman and according to the instructions that Allah had given, those deeds will be wasted. Which is why we see that Umar radiallahu anhu, once he came across a rahib, a monk, who had devoted his life to just worshipping God. And he began to cry that this person has spent his entire life doing something that is going to prove to nothing on the Day of Judgment for him. عَامِلَةٌ نَاصِبَةٌ. So this shows to us that Iman, Ikhlas, and following the correct methodology is extremely important. Extremely important. أَلَمْ تَرَ, have you not seen أَنَّ اللَّهَ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ, that indeed Allah has created the heavens and the earth in truth? Have you not realized, have you not considered, have you not reflected on this, that Allah is the creator of the heavens and the earth, and He has created all of them bil-haq? What does it mean by bil-haq? That first of all, He created it the way it should have been created. He created it in the most perfect way, the way that it should have been created. The earth is as it should have been. The sky is as it should have been. The sun is as it should have been. So we are no ones to object and say, if there was no winter, if there was no snow, life would be so much easier. No. We have no authority to object. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created all of this in the right manner, in the right way. And sometimes it's amazing how people object. That why is the sun like this? And why are the clouds like this? And why is the winter like this? They keep complaining. We are no ones to complain and object, because Allah has created the heavens and the earth in the right way. He has fixed certain functions for them in the right way, in the right manner. And we, with our limited knowledge, are no ones to object at the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Secondly, bil-haq means that He created it for the purpose for which it was supposed to be created. For a right reason. For a justified reason. For a correct cause. And what is it? That in the earth, who lives? The human beings live. And what do? They worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That everything has been created for who? Human beings. And human beings have been created for what? For the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't you see this? That the heavens and the earth, they are in your favor, or human beings. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created all of this so perfectly for you to exist, for you to thrive, for you to live, for you to enjoy, for you to use. And yet, you will not fulfill your purpose. Everything is fulfilling its purpose. The sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, water, everything is fulfilling its purpose. It's doing what it should be doing. Serving you. But you are not fulfilling your purpose. If you don't do that, if you don't worship Allah, then remember that in yasha, if He wills, yudhibukum, He can remove you. He can completely finish you, O human beings. وَيَأْتِ بِخَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ, and He can bring a new creation. A completely new creation in your place. Khalqin Jadid can be understood as another generation, a new generation. And it can also be understood as another species, another creation that is completely different from human beings. And this is not at all difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what do we learn from this ayah? That if everything has been created for a purpose, the human being also has a purpose. And what is that? Worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if the human being does not fulfill that, then he is useless. Then he can be easily replaced by someone else. Just like if you have something, and if it's not fulfilling its purpose, what do? You get rid of it. You replace it. If you have a phone, and from that phone you cannot make phone calls, the speaker is not working, or the buttons are not working, what are you going to do? Replace it. Because it's useless to keep that phone. When it does not help you, when it does not fulfill the purpose at the time of need, it's a burden. It's junk. So similarly, if a person also does not fulfill the purpose for which he was created, he is useless. In Surah Muhammad, ayah 38, we learn, وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمٌ غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. If you turn away, Allah will replace you with another nation, and they will not be like you. And replacing you with another creation, وَمَا ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِعَزِيزٍ. This is not at all difficult for Allah. The word Aziz has many meanings. Sometimes it gives meaning of difficult, hard. So this replacing you with another creation is not difficult for Allah at all. Because a person may wonder, but the earth is full of human beings. Everywhere you go, you see people. How is it possible that all people can be removed and all people will be replaced by another creation? How is it possible? It's definitely possible. And Allah shows this to us. That how, within moments, thousands and thousands of people and their livelihoods, they're washed away. They're completely destroyed. You think it's difficult for Allah to replace you? It's not at all difficult for Him. It's very easy for Him. وَبَرَزُوا لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. And they will all come out for judgment before Allah. وَبَرَزُوا. Barazu from the root letters. Ba-ra-zai. From the word buruz, which means to come into view, to appear, when something becomes visible. So barazu, they will all appear, they will all come before, they will all emerge, come out, come to view. Who does they refer to? The creation. Men and women. All types of creatures. The wicked and the righteous among them. Every single creature will be brought out. And notice the word barazu is in the past tense. And what does that indicate? That this is so certain that on the day of judgment, people will come out and they will come to view. This is so certain, it is as though it has already happened. Barazu lillahi. And why will they appear? Why will they be brought out? For the purpose of hisab. They'll be brought out of their graves for the purpose of hisab on the day of judgment. Jami'an, altogether. And no one will be able to hide on that day. Because notice the word barazu. Everyone will be visible, will come to view. No one will be able to hide. فَقَالَ, so he will say, who? الضُّعَفَاءُ, the weak ones. الضُّعَفَاء is a plural of ضعيف. The weak ones, they will say, لِلَّذِينَ, to those people who istakbaru, they were arrogant. What does it mean by this? The weak ones will say to the arrogant ones. The weak ones refers to those people who were da'if, who were weak in terms of their wealth, or in terms of their intellect, in terms of their knowledge, their worldly status, in their thought, in their opinion. And because of this reason, they had no say of their own. They would only follow other people. If a person is intellectually strong, if a person is very wealthy or he has a high status, then generally he is the one who leads other people. But a person who is weak in his mind, who is weak in his status, who is weak in his wealth, then what does he do? He ends up following other people. So ad-du'afa over here refers to the followers. Those people who blindly followed others. Without using their mind, without using their reason, they kept on following other people. The example that is given is of sheep. Like sheep, what do? They just follow the shepherd. Without knowing where they're going, what exactly the shepherd is saying, they just blindly follow. And the masses of people fall in this category. Because they blindly follow some individuals. If a particular individual has said something, they will say the same word. If a particular individual is doing something, they will do the exact same thing. If they're driving a particular car, their goal in life becomes that they also want to drive that particular car. If a person believes in something, they also begin to follow them in their belief. Du'afa, weak ones. So what does this show to us? That in order to be able to follow the religion correctly, what do we need to do? We need to become strong in our knowledge, in our understanding. Because if we're not strong, then what will happen? Somebody will come and say one thing to us, and there, everything is fallen apart. And then we will end up following them. So the weak ones, the followers, they will say to the arrogant ones. Who are the arrogant ones? The leaders. Why are they described as the arrogant ones? Because generally, the leaders, they know what is out there. And sometimes, especially for example, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and also at the time of other prophets, the leaders were who? They were those people who recognized the truth of the messenger. But they were too arrogant to accept it. They were too arrogant to submit to it. Why? Because they thought that if we believe in this messenger, what's going to happen? We are going to lose our authority. We're going to lose our power. So despite the fact that they recognize the truth, they refuse to accept it. الَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا, the arrogant ones. And who are they? The leaders who had misguided the masses. So the weak ones, the followers, they will say to the leaders that إِنَّا كُنَّا لَكُمْ تَبَعًا. We used to be your followers. تَبَعًا, plural of تَابِعْ. It's the plural of تَابِعْ. تَابِعْ, one who follows, تَبَعًا, followers. We used to be your followers where? In the dunya. We used to obey your instructions. We always followed your orders. We implemented everything that you said. Everything you promoted, we did it. We listened to you. We obeyed you with regards to everything. So we were so obedient to you. فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ, then can you, مُغْنُونَ, wants to avail, عَنَّا, from us, مِنْ عَذَابِ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ, from the punishment of Allah, anything at all? مُغْنُونَ عَنَّا, meaning can you make us free of this punishment today? مُغْنُونَ is the plural of مُغْنِي. And who is مُغْنِي? One who enriches the other. One who makes the other free of want. One who makes the other independent. One who is of use to the other. And when this word is followed by an, then it gives the meaning of removing something far away from the other. So can you free us from the punishment of Allah today? At least a little bit, min shay'in, anything at all? Can you reduce it for us? Can you take it away from us? Can you save us from this punishment? Why will they ask the leaders? Because they used to follow the leaders blindly in the dunya. And they used to think that they had some kind of authority, some kind of power. So on the day of judgment also they will have such thinking about their leaders. That they could do so much in the dunya, perhaps they can also do something today. Perhaps they can also do something today. Like for example, if a person is going through some financial problem, where does he go? Who does he go to? He goes to a bank. Or for example, he goes and speaks to someone who can advise him. And whatever they say, he does it. So similarly, on the day of judgment, a person will think that because they helped me in my problems in the dunya, they guided me, they told me what to do, and I followed them, perhaps today also they have some solution for me. Because in this dunya, how do people advertise themselves? I have the solution to your problems. Are you in debt? Come to me, I will tell you what to do. You want a car? Come to me, I'll tell you what to do. So, on the day of judgment as well, such people will go to such leaders that can you get us out of this problem today? قَالُوا, they will say, لَوْ هَدَانَ اللَّهُ, if Allah had guided us, لَهَدَيْنَاكُمْ, surely we would have guided you. If Allah had guided us in the dunya, we would also have called you to guidance. Look how they blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah never guided us. So now, we cannot save you. And سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْنَا, it is the same upon us, أَجَزِعْنَا, whether we show impatience, أَمْ صَبَرْنَا, or we endure with patience. It's the same. It's not going to make a difference whether we are impatient or we are very patient over this punishment. Because مَا لَنَا, there is not for us, مِن مَحِيزٍ, any escape. There is no escape for us today. There is no way that we will come out of this punishment ever again. So it's the same, whether we scream and yell, or we bear all of this with patience. سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْنَا أَجَزِعْنَا أَمْ صَبَرْنَا. Jazirna is from the root letters Jim, Zai, Ain, Jaza'a. And Jaza'a is to be worried, to be concerned, and generally this word is used as the opposite of sabr. Because sabr is habsun nafs, to control yourself. So for example, if a person is experiencing some pain, what does he want to do? He wants to scream, or he wants to sigh out loud. So jaza'a is to not control yourself, to scream, to yell, to shout, to show impatience, to show anxiety, to show worry. And sabarna, or we are patient, we control ourselves. It's not going to make a difference whether we cry and wail, whether we show anger, whether we show remorse, whether we throw a tantrum, or we are patient and we behave properly. It's not going to make a difference because we have no means of escape from what we are in. Whether we face it with patience or we face it with grief. Generally what happens? If a person is put to a severe punishment in this dunya, and if he cries too much, if he yells too much, if he shouts too much, then what happens? A little mercy is shown at least. Perhaps the punishment is reduced. For example, if a child is given time out, and after 2 minutes he starts crying, the mother feels very bad, and eventually what happens? She gives up. She lets the child come out. But on the other hand, if a person is patient, he does not say anything, he is very tolerant, he does not show any anger, even that is appreciated in some way or the other. But the fact is that in the hellfire, once the people are there, whether they show impatience or they are very patient, it's not going to reduce the punishment for them. Nothing at all is going to make a difference. Because مَا لَنَا مِن مَحِيص, there is no escape for us. Mahis is from the root letters ha, ya, sad. From the word hais, hasa, which is to escape, to flee. And generally hais is used to turn from somewhere in order to run and escape. And mahis is ism zarf. So any place of escape, any place to escape to, any place to run to. And the second meaning is of mastar. What does mastar mean then, mahis? That any chance to escape, any flight. And generally it is used for such a difficulty from which there is no scene of getting out. There is no way of getting out of it. Like for example, imagine if a person is locked up in a room. There is no window, the walls are very high, and there is a ceiling on top, and the door is locked from outside. And it's not even an ordinary door, it's a metal door. Is it ever possible for that person to come out of there? No. مَا لَنَا مِن مَحِيص. What do we learn from this ayah? What's the lesson in this ayah for us? What's the main thing that is being mentioned over here? That when people blindly follow others in this dunya, then what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment? When they don't use their mind in this dunya, and they just blindly follow other people, then what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment? Those leaders cannot help you. People whom you're following, they cannot aid you. So a person should be extremely careful. Who is he following? In whose footsteps is he in? In the previous ayat, we learned about the messengers whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent. So one way is that way which is shown to us by the messenger of Allah. And the other way is that which is shown to us by the people of this world. We have to see, who are we following? Are we in the footsteps of the messenger, or are we in the footsteps of the worldly people? A person has to put an effort to obtain guidance. If you look over here, al-du'afa, the weak ones. Why were they weak? Because they did not use their mind. Many times people say that, oh, my mind is just not as strong. But the fact is that the more you use your mind, the more you try to memorize, the sharper it becomes. The stronger it becomes. So we cannot say that, oh, I've been created weak. No. People have been given an intellect, and they have been given the time, the opportunity to use it. And if a person does not use it, does not put an effort to acquire guidance, then he cannot blame anyone else but himself. Many times there are people who call the masses towards them, towards something wrong that they are doing. And they use big words, or they use their degrees, or they use their names and their labels to promote themselves. And many times people, without even using their mind, they will fall for it. Many times it happens, there's an advertisement on the TV, there's an advertisement on the radio, or there's something that everybody has, or it's advertised everywhere, and people think that, oh, it's a must-have. I must have it too. Without thinking, do I really need it? Is it really useful? Is it really worth it? They see something on a commercial. They see something on that TV advertisements. So they show these things repeatedly over and over again, and people just fall for it without even using their mind. And many times this happens even in the matters of deen. That people will say, I am the student of so-and-so. I have studied from there and there, and therefore, just do whatever I'm telling you. And people will believe them without checking the evidence, without checking what they are saying. So don't accept things just because people are saying, just because people are promoting them. Use your mind. Because this mind that you have been given, you will be questioned about it.